What's up, everybody? I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. I'm Anthony. On today's episode, we are going to be doing an introduction to growing your own fruit. Alright, so like I said, today we're going to be talking about growing your own fruit. I want to make sure that if y'all want to start doing this, if y'all want to get into growing your own fruit, you absolutely can get started on the right foot. Don't be like me and just kind of put something in the ground and not think it through and all of a sudden wonder why you fail. So I want to go ahead and make this video to try to put y'all in the right direction so maybe you can be successful the first time. Alright, full disclosure, when I first got out of the military, one of the main things I could not wait to do when I got my first property was to be able to plant my own fruit trees. I cannot tell you how many times I've been to the grocery store or the market and all of a sudden coming across these nasty, old, waxed, sprayed out kind of fruits, and I said, you know what, the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to grow my own, because I'm sick and tired of having this horrible selection in the market, and I want to be able to source my own stuff because I can. So that's one of the things I couldn't wait to do when I got my property. So obviously, as I said before, when I first got it, I decided to plant things just willy-nilly. Didn't really think about it, didn't care. I was just like, okay, I want this, this, and this, and I put them down. And let me just be completely honest here. It was a massive, massive fail. Now, the reason I wasn't successful is multifaceted, but for argument's sake, I'm just going to say I didn't pay attention to what zone I was in, how many chill hours I had, and the proper spacing or pollination needs of those plants. So in an effort to teach you and to learn from my mistakes, I'm going to go over all of that with you so you know exactly what you're dealing with whenever you're picking out your fruit trees or fruit bushes. First things first, we're going to talk about zone, what zone you live in. Now, I know that may seem extremely basic, but there's a lot of people out there who don't know that there are different plant hardiness zones. For those of you who don't know what zone you may be in, I will go ahead and put a link to a map that you can find out your location and exactly what zone you may live in. Basically, when I say zone, that means plant hardiness zone, which is basically saying the coldest your winter is going to get on average. So because I'm in South Carolina, because I'm in the upper part of South Carolina, my zone is 8A, meaning my lowest temperature is going to usually hover around 10 to 15 degrees. Now, why zoning matters is because there are some things that just cannot grow at a certain temperature. Like I said, I live in zone 8A, so it gets between 10 and 15 degrees here. Well, there's a lot of things that cannot survive when it gets down that cold. Things like citrus, avocados, or olives. Most of them will not make it when it gets down that far. Sure, I can grow or have a greenhouse or a jalapeno and be able to grow those things indoors. But if I want to just put it outside, I have to take into account my zone because the winters will kill a lot of stuff. The next thing you have to take into account is something called chill hours. Now, a lot of people on YouTube do not discuss this, so I want to make sure I hit this kind of hard, so just bear with me here. Basically, in a nutshell, what chill hours are is deciduous trees require, or I say deciduous trees, but it could be shrubs as well, require a certain amount of time within a certain temperature to be able to reliably set a flower or bud to set fruit. Basically, what that means is if a tree that you plant has, let's say, an apple tree, if you want to reliably set a flower to be able to make an apple, you have to have a certain amount of chill hours so that tree knows, hey, one season's over, another one is starting. Now, chill hours can get kind of complicated. So in order to make sure that you're on the same page and you know exactly what you're getting, if you would like to know the chill hours of your area, the best thing to do is to get a hold of your local extension, your local university extension, ones that deal with agriculture, because they can tell you usually a roundabout number of how many chill hours your area gets. If you want to try to calculate it yourself, by all means, but you're going to drive yourself crazy. So the best way to do it is just go ahead and make a phone call and find out the chill hours of your area. I think you could even search around online. If I can find it online, I'll put a link down in the description so you can find your local area's chill hours requirements out. But the reason why this is so important and why I got to hit it hard is because certain trees require it. You have to have a chill hour in order to reliably set fruit. However, you cannot just go ahead and plant a low chill hour variety in a high chill hour area. Does that make sense? Basically, for lack of a better word, okay, you're going to get high chill and low chill fruits. Most apples are high chill, okay? We're going to just give a roundabout number. They need 1,000 chill hours to reliably set fruit, okay? So if you live in an area, say north of the Mason-Dixon line, you're most likely going to hit that no problem. But if you live somewhere like me in the middle of the South, you might not get that 1,000 hours. So if I put down a variety that requires a high chill hour and we don't get enough hours, they're not going to set out any flowers, okay? Now the other side of that, if let's say I can get like a Southern Anna apple that has like very, very low chill hours, and I try to plant that up north, well, that's just going to do nothing but kill the tree, because when that tree hits those hours, it's going to think, oh, okay, spring's right around the corner, let me go ahead and set out my leaves and my buds. Well, if it's only halfway through wintertime, you're going to kill that tree. So you have to make sure that you're playing that middle ground. You can't go too high and you can't go too low. You actually have to get that roundabout number of your area, because if you don't, then you're either not going to get fruit, or the tree won't survive. So that's why I say chill hours is so important. Now, don't get discouraged. The best part about being in this modern day that we are, you can basically graft any type of fruit tree onto a different type of rootstock, so you can almost get those hour requirements depending on where you live. I mean, my friend Steve in Corsair Trainers lives in California, Southern California, yet he can still grow apples, a traditionally very cold chill hour requirement fruit. So if he can grow apples in Southern California, regardless of the area you're in, you most likely can grow them as well. So they make all different types of varieties that range in those hours. So don't get discouraged when you think, oh wow, we live in a really hot climate, I can't grow apples, because you probably can. The one fallback is if you live in a really cold climate, it's a lot harder to get fruit trees that can survive a very harsh cold winter. So that is one of those give and take kind of things. Sure, we could maybe push those hours back for a warmer climate, but it's very hard to get those hours forward in a cold climate. Does that make sense? All right, so we've talked about zone, we've talked about chill hours. Now we have to talk about pollination requirements. This is also very, very, very important, and the reason why it is important is because there are some species of trees that cannot pollinate themselves. Now you have things like my fig right over here that can set its own fruit and pollinate itself, no problem. But you have other things like this apple tree that requires another type of apple to be able to cross-pollinate so you can get fruit. Because if I didn't have another apple tree around, this thing may flower all day, but I won't get any kind of fruit because it needs pollen from a different type of apple to make that happen. Now, I know a lot of that stuff can sound kind of intimidating, and you might be sitting there like, wow, I got so much stuff to worry about, what's even the point? It's very easy. Just look at the back, the tag, whatever you buy from. This is from Lowe's. I got a red delicious apple right over there I just planted. If you look at the back of the card, it'll show you everything I just talked about. It'll tell you your cold hardiness. It'll tell you when you fertilize if you want to. It'll even tell you what type you need to pollinate with. So since this is a red delicious apple, it gives you an entire list of other apple trees you plant next to it to make sure that you get proper cross-pollination. So don't be scared. Not to mention, if you are at like say a nursery who doesn't have this card, you can always use your little mini computer and find out exactly what trees pollinate with what. So like I said, this is one of those things where a lot of people get scared, a lot of people get nervous whenever they're trying to figure out what pollinates with what, but it's really not that bad. But it's one of those things you have to pay attention to, because if you do not know that some trees require a pollinator, you might be sitting there year 5 trying to figure out why you're not getting any freaking fruit. All right, so now that we've gone over the zone requirement, chill requirement, and pollination requirements, I want to get into things that have worked for me in South Carolina. So that way, if you were thinking about, hey, I want to do this, I'm considering this, if you happen to share my zone, I'm going to tell you some things that were successful for me, so maybe I can get you on the same path. Now, first things first, if you are worried or hesitant about spraying things like pesticides or fungicides on your tree, that's going to be another big thing that you have to pay attention to, because some things basically require spraying to be successful in a certain area. Now, I say this standing in front of an apple tree because around here we have a lot of cedar. Cedars carry things like fire blight or rust. So if you don't spray a fungicide on here, you're probably not going to get any apples. You might actually kill your tree. Same thing when it comes to peaches. Peaches can get a lot of kind of scabs as well. So you ought to make sure that if you are planting those, you're probably going to have to spray them with some sort of copper fungicide at some point. Now, you don't have to spray every single tree. I'm in an area that has a lot of native fruits, and the natives, the best thing about them is they don't really require anything. So things like persimmons, figs, blueberries, they don't require spraying at all. That's why I have them here. My fig tree over there, I've never sprayed it. I've never done anything. I've maybe trimmed it a few times, but hey, it's gone from being this big to almost my height now, so in 3 years. And I get figs every single year, so I really can't complain. It's one of my easiest trees I got. Same thing with my blueberry bushes. My blueberry bushes, I've literally never sprayed them. I don't hardly touch them. The only time I touch them is to water them and pick blueberries. So They don't require any kind of special treatment. And if you want to set it and forget it kind of thing, you might want to look into those things that grow native in your area. All right, so let me reiterate the things that have been successful for me in my area of South Carolina, just in case you are watching and you are in my similar zone. You know what you can look at to be successful. Cherries, I did not work. It did not do very well at all. Plums, same thing. They just did not work. So I gave up on doing those. However, things that did work very well were figs. Figs over there, holy crap balls, that thing was this big and now it is 6 foot tall and sprawling all over the place. That thing is great. I love my figs. Same thing with my blueberries. I mean, if you want to put something in the continental United States, I highly suggest looking at blueberries. Yeah, you got to plant a different, a whole bunch of different types to make sure you get that cross pollination, but wow, they grow amazing here. I don't ever have to spray them. I love them. They are definitely a staple, and I'm going to be putting down a lot more because I get blueberries every single year. The birds can't even beat me to them because there's just so many. So I highly suggest, if you want to make sure you're planting something that's going to give you something annually, it's going to be blueberries. Strawberries do really well. Just got to make sure you net them because birds are going to get them before you do. So make sure you net those. Peaches do well for me as well. I'm also in South Carolina, so it's like the peach capital of the United States. So obviously, they do very well here. Let's see, wild grapes. I have muscadines or muscadines, however you want to say it, on my property. They didn't do very well this year, but last year I had them everywhere. So these things are just, they're almost like glitter. They pop up everywhere and you can never get rid of them. So I highly suggest, if you want to make sure that you're getting some quality grapes in the South, you look at a muscadine scuppernong type, because those things are everywhere. And yeah, that's about it on this property. Oh, and pecans, because there's pecan trees all over the place. However, there's two things that I have planted that I haven't had any results yet, but I don't want to call them a wash. So my apple trees, this one's 3 years old. The other one I just put down this year because the one I had over here died. But this one, I said Golden Delicious, been 3 years. I planted it, it was this tall on me. Now it's way up there. So obviously it's growing, it's doing its thing. Hopefully this colder fall, winter means that we're gonna get enough chill hours. I'm gonna get a really good bloom this coming spring. And if I do, I will make sure I put a video on there, because I'm going to most likely want to brag because I've waited so long to get my own apples. Like literally, that's the one thing I've wanted this entire time. I just want to grow my own apples. It's just, I don't know, I just love apples. So hopefully I'll be able to get those. And another thing that I know grows here, but I haven't had any success on my property, has been pears. Down the street over there, there's Bartlett pears, and I know quite a few pear trees and other homesteads, but I have never tried growing them on my property. I just put in a kefir pear this like a month ago, so hopefully I will get those, probably maybe not this year, probably the next year, but hopefully it'll be one of those trees I can tell y'all, hey, you don't have to do any kind of spraying. It just happens. Because Liberty Garden, if you ever watch him, he's got a kefir pear tree. He says he doesn't have to do anything. He planted it and boom, he gets pears every single year. So that's what I want. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video now because I've gone on way too long. But hopefully this video helps you if you are considering putting down your own fruit trees. Keep in mind, the winter time, the dormant time, is the best time to put down any kind of fruit trees. You don't really want to put them down as they're budding out or as they're alive. I say alive, like as they're fully leafed, because that's going to be a good way to stress that tree out. So if you can put it down now when they're all dormant, best time to do it. So consider doing that if you have the property to do so. But if you learned something from this video, please do me a humongous favor and give me a thumbs up. I would really much appreciate it. And subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one, okay? Bye.